Imagine this. You post something vulnerable online, a childhood story, a fear, a moment of real pain. You write it all out, raw, honest, maybe even a little shaky. And the response? Dozens of comments. Likes, hearts. People say, "You're so brave. Thank you for sharing. This hit me hard." But somehow you still feel alone. Why? Today we're talking about the paradox of sharing everything and still feeling unknown. Let's unpack it. Let's define the thing. Digital vulnerability is when you share personal emotions, stories, or struggles online, and it's become normal. We talk about anxiety on Instagram, write grief threads on Twitter, make confession videos on TikTok. In some ways, it's powerful. It breaks stigma, it invites empathy, it reminds us we're not alone. But here's the catch. Not all sharing leads to connection. Sometimes it leads to more distance. Why? Because vulnerability isn't just what you say. It's who you say it to and why.
You ever post something deep and then immediately check if it got likes? Was that brave? Or just oversharing with good lighting? We've all been there. Digital vulnerability feels safe until it doesn't. Just remember, healing isn't a performance. And no, crying in soft focus doesn't make it more valid. More on the difference between exposure and intimacy coming up.
Here's something tricky. Sharing something vulnerable doesn't automatically create closeness. You can post your deepest thoughts online and still feel like no one really sees you, because posting is a broadcast. You're talking outwards to a crowd. Even if the crowd claps, it's still a stage. Real intimacy? That's eye contact. That's the pause before someone responds. That's sitting in silence after you say something hard and knowing they're still there. It's not about exposure, it's about being held. When we overshare online, we often skip the messy middle. The part where someone sits with what we've said and doesn't scroll past it. Your brain gets dopamine from sharing. Every like, comment, or me too gives a tiny rush, and your brain says, "Connection, this feels good." But that chemical hit fades fast, because your nervous system isn't just asking to be noticed. It's asking to be known, and being known takes more than a caption. It takes time, safety, repetition. We've confused relatable with real. We've built platforms to share everything, but no safe space to process it when the applause fades.
Ever scroll past someone's raw, unfiltered post and think, did they hire a lighting team for that trauma? Social media sells authenticity, but packages it in perfection. We're not judging, we're all trying. But don't confuse being seen with being held. Stick around. We're diving into the real cost of performing honesty.
Let's get honest about honesty. Not all vulnerability is genuine. Sometimes we share to be validated, not understood. Sometimes it's curated sadness. Sometimes it's trauma in a beautiful font. We turn pain into content. We turn healing into branding. And eventually we forget. Who are we when we're not performing our story? This doesn't mean stop sharing, but it does mean asking, why am I posting this? Do I want connection or attention? There's a big difference. Here's what we need more of. Small, honest conversations with people who know your context. Safe spaces where your story is not a spectacle. Relationships where silence is okay, where being quiet is still being seen. People who remember your triggers, not just your captions. Digital vulnerability isn't bad, but it should never be a replacement for real support. The internet can witness you, but healing happens in relationships that respond, not just react.
Quick reminder, if you need to be messy, go journal. If you need to be honest, call a friend. If you need to perform, maybe hit save draft. We're not anti-sharing, we're pro-safety. Real strategies for reconnecting with real people coming next.
So if you've ever shared something big online and still felt empty after, you're not broken, you're human. And maybe your nervous system is just asking for something deeper, share, but also connect, be seen by, but also held. Next time, we're diving into something even sneakier. Why social media feels so addictive, and how it quietly rewires your brain in ways you didn't expect. Take care, I see you, and I'm glad you're here.